What the is we doing?
Cool.
All right, welcome back, everybody. So today's topic of conversation is going to be this thing that we're going to actually cheers to right now. Cheers.
Cheers.
So today we're going to be talking a little bit about alcohol, or as they say in Spanish, alcohol. So is it helpful? Is it beneficial? Like, why do people drink it? And there's a lot of different ways we can go about this topic, but just relating to overall health and fitness, right? So alcohol, is it a good thing or a bad thing? Just from your experience, what do you think?
It's a bad thing
Okay, why?
from personal experience. Um, I think for people that cannot control their alcohol, it can become a problem, and not just like physical health, like like in their physical health, but also in mental health. I know a couple of people that have fallen into the vice that once they start drinking, they can go like days, weeks, months without stopping. So at the end of the
Right.
day, alcohol is a depressant for those that don't know. So it just gets you depressed and sad. Well, not sad, but like it's a depressant. That's kind of like their category. So yes, ultimate like the straight answer is bad in excess.
Right.
That's the cap in excess. But
No,
I
but
think
I mean, in that sense, anything in excess is bad.
exactly, yeah, yeah. But like if you had to choose between yes or no, it's definitely not. It's bad. I mean, in good or bad, it's bad.
Right.
What do you think?
So here's the thing when it relates to alcohol and your overall health. So however you want to like phrase it or just categorize it, alcohol as it is realistically just an energy source, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's the way we go about metabolizing it, it ends up being more of a poison than anything else for us, right? If you give it to something else, it'll actually utilize it as energy. Fun fact, and alcohol is probably the thing that's most efficient in relation to energy that your body can metabolize, right? So if
Mm-hmm.
we didn't create the byproducts of, you know, toxins and poisons, if we could actually use alcohol as an energy source, this would be the most efficient thing that we have compared to things like carbohydrates and proteins and fats because it's so fuel efficient. But again, there's a lot of issues in relation to that, so we can't use it. Um, Again, alcohol is a poison for us as humans, and drunk into excess, it becomes, like you mentioned, something that can be very problematic, right? It becomes an addictive substance. Um, it basically just completely inhibits you from doing anything. If you've ever been drunk before, you know exactly what that feels like because you can't do anything. Or
Mm-hmm.
you can become very violent. Some people have different effects or different outcomes when it comes to drinking excessive amounts of alcohol. But at the end of the day, it usually ends up with you either blacking out, vomiting, or getting really violent and punching people or punching yourself or getting into fights unnecessarily or some sort of
Accidents.
combination there. Or accidents,
Accidents.
right?
Mm-hmm.
That's another one. And that's where you can actually seriously hurt yourself and have a bunch of problems. Um, and
The thing
sometimes you
that
won't even feel it.
yeah, I think that the main issue with alcohol is that it's especially when you're in that state, it's not just you who is, getting the pain or kind of like how you say that? Well, you're not suffering by yourself. You usually tend to like extend the suffering for people. Like for example, car accidents. Usually innocent people get involved in that. Or like you mentioned, like
Right.
just getting into unnecessary fights. What if it's like, or like even violence, like domestic violence, usually is because of alcohol. So I
Right.
think yeah, overall it's definitely not. But let me kind of like go back to something that you mentioned a bit earlier. So you're telling me alcohol is better than coffee?
As an energy source, yes.
Shit, I must start taking a shot every morning, huh? Fuck the coffee.
I mean, you can have it with your coffee. That's how we do it.
Mm.
At least that's how I do it.
Phew.
But it just kind of depends on the day. Anyways, so yeah, alcohol, we're drinking alcohol right now. So as
Mhm.
much as we can, put it down, people drink it, and it's an industry that's a multi-billion, if not even more than that,
A billion, you
industry
say.
where people always drink. There's
Mhm.
uh, institutions like bars and restaurants that exist to just serve this, right? So like for some reason
Well,
there is a want for this, even though it's a problem. What's up?
there was prohibition, during that time of era, 1970s, 60s, 50s. I can't recall well. I already had a shot and that went to my head. Can recall dates, but the prohibition era might be in the 1800s actually. The pro
No, it was in the 1920s. Um,
19 yes 1920s 1920s 10 11
yeah,
years. So
yeah,
that
yeah.
was that thing, and but people still smuggle that, and
No, but like
um
again, alcohol is not something that's just like in America, right? Like this is global. Like you go
right.
anywhere, people are always drinking. They're always in bars. So this is a tradition, right?
Right.
And then that goes to kind of like the idea of where I'm coming back to, like, regardless of it being a substance that doesn't necessarily have a lot of positive effects, it's
Hmm.
something that does create a sort of like social lubricant, right? People like drinking alcohol because it relaxes them. And again, I go back to
Yeah.
everything in moderation, right? Like you can't just completely eliminate something like this because it does have some benefits. Again, going back to like social situations, it helps. It just makes the environment calmer, right? Like if you're in a
Right.
business setting, like alcohol tends to calm people for that. There's a lot of studies that show that drinking wine has antioxidants, so that's something that's actually beneficial for you.
Yeah.
So not everything can just be black and white in that sense, right? Like there's always some middle ground. But again, like for us, we drink as a regular thing of the show just to have an opportunity just to relax, right? Because the
Yeah.
idea is that when you have a shot, like that's a moment for you to relax and just have a good time. Um, but
And
yeah,
usually we usually just have ideas when you a bit, under the influence. too. But
exactly.
yeah, I think so going back to like the social aspect of alcohol, I think that kind of like being just marketed as that, like it has to be on any social event, like wherever you go. Well, being Latino, usually, anywhere you go, any party, even if it's like a birthday party, there's alcohol involved in that. And just that's just the market. I am curious about why the US drinking age is 21. By any chance, do you happen to know that? Or we can come back to this and just do some
Yeah, we'll
research.
definitely have to come back. I know that there's definitely like there's some history there as to why it is.
Uh-huh.
I don't know 100%
Right.
what that is, so we can definitely do some research and come back.
I'm just gonna ask Google. I'm gonna ask
Okay.
GTP why
Okay, go ahead. 100%
drinking
accurate answer right now.
age on Chat GTP. What?
Yeah.
Okay, enforcing the legal drinking age of 21 reduces traffic crashes, protects young people, maturing brains, and keeps young people safer overall. So that's why. So it makes sense because you're 18, drunk, stupid. You just what do you call that? Liable for society?
Developing. Yeah.
No, you're kind of like when you're a liability. You're
Yeah.
liable.
Yeah.
You're a liability in society. I think that makes sense. I think especially for men, we don't mature. We gotta be honest. We don't mature until like 20. So
Hey
like we
man, I
don't.
don't know about you, man, but I've been pretty mature for a long time, bro.
I don't know. When I
What?
met you, bro.
Damn, son.
When I met you, you were a
When
kid,
you
bro.
met me, I was more
I had
mature than I
to
am now. I didn't even
I
drink
had to
alcohol.
rate. Oh, that's true. No, but that actually, yeah, that's true. When I met this guy, he did not do anything. Am I the bad
No
influence
alcohol
here?
right here, man. Yeah, man.
But you enjoy it now,
I
right?
need to have a shot. I need to have a shot before I go to bed.
That's a problem.
I know.
Nah, I mean, there's some aspects about, like just um I think it's a balance for me, ultimately. And I had to learn that the hard way, honestly, about, controlling your liquor, because like I said, it becomes a problem when you exceed it. So
Right.
drink consciously.
Responsibly.
Hey, there you go. That's the word I was looking for. Drink responsibly, and just kind of like, I think, experimenting. And that's why kind of like, college ages, or just like the 20s are the time for you to experiment, especially if you're um just out there. Experiment a bit, see what works, what doesn't work for you. Everybody has their cup of tea. Like, I cannot drink Henny for shit, or not even the smell of it. Uh, but and I do good with whiskey. That's my drink. That calms me down. That cools me down. Other, the hangover is the worst part. We should talk about the hangover, bro.
And so that aspect, boom, right?
Yeah.
So again, like, what is a hangover? You drank yourself to the extent where your body could not process and metabolize out all the alcohol. So
Mm-hmm.
now your body's just completely dehydrated and you feel like shit. Um, Oftentimes you end up needing to vomit in order to kind of just get
Ugh.
this shit out of your system. Again, it is a poison at the end of the day. No matter how
Right.
many ways you want to like cut it, no matter how many positives you might have, done to an excess, it becomes a problem, right? And if you do this enough times, then we start
Mm-hmm.
getting into things like organ failure or organ damage, right?
Right.
Issues with your liver, right? And your kidneys. Like, once you get to that point, it's pretty much game over. Um, like, there's literally almost no coming back for that other than you getting like organ replacement.
Mm-hmm.
So, in moderation, understand it is a drug, right? There's a reason why it's such an addictive substance to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you find yourself craving the alcohol, that's an indicator that
That's a problem.
you're you're in a position where you need to really be mindful about it. Like, again, nothing, and again, this is my philosophy than anything else. If it has control over you, it's an addiction. And if you can't step away from it, it's something that you need to really sit down and analyze, like, what this
Mm-hmm.
is bringing to the table in terms of value, and then adjust accordingly, because things like this can ruin your life, or at the very least make you make bad decisions, right? Again, going back to driving drunk, or
Mm-hmm.
falling because you are drunk, or getting hurt because you're drunk, or whatever the situation is, you might put yourself in a bad situation because of this thing that realistically you don't really need.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Good point. Maybe this is a talk for another day, more on the self-development kind of realm. Vices. I think every man, well, I'm kind of generalizing. I don't know why I say man. Every human being usually has a vice. But I think you've read the book, and you recommended the book, Relentless.
Yeah.
All right, book. So kind of like quoting from that book, and I found the truth, some sort of truth on this. Because if it's not one thing, it's gonna be the other. You know, every person is gonna have a vice, some sort of outlet. It's kind of like your guilty pleasure, but if you have control over it, it can bring you to. It can you can harvest it for a lot of potential. But if it has control over you, then you're fucked, in simple words. So I
Yep.
think alcohol
Right.
is
So
one of. Go ahead.
yeah, so alcohol is definitely one of those things, right? If
Yeah.
you're not mindful of it, it can just become super addictive, and that's the only thing
Mm-hmm.
you chase. Like, your purpose will literally just become to get the alcohol, and that's where we have things like alcoholism, or people that are
Mm-hmm.
alcohol addicts, Alcoholics Anonymous, right?
Yeah.
AA. It's a program for a reason, and it's because this thing is so addictive, and some people are more prone to genetically be more addicted to it. It all just kind of depends on where you come from, not
Right.
necessarily region, but I'm just saying about genetics and your parents and the things you inherit and all that. Um, Again, all things in moderation, right? Because at the end of the day, it is something that can be enjoyable if done to like a controlled amount, very responsibly, and you're doing it in the right setting.
Mm-hmm.
But if you find yourself in a position where like it's something that you're constantly craving and you need in order to feel satisfied, feel content for the day, then that's a position you do not want to be in.
Absolutely true. Now, kind of like going back to the hangover part, that the alcohol that you consume is gonna have great impact on the type of hangover you will have the next day. So once again, experiment, see what works. I'm not saying that go, drink every weekend and get shit faced just as experiments. No, just time, special events and stuff. See what works, what doesn't work for you. And one question about health is how bad is for your body when you kind of like throw up,
Well, I mean, over time, that's fucking terrible, right? So again, when it comes to vomiting, that's just like acid that's coming back up in through, well, I'm forgetting the name of the canal here, but anyway, your throat. Like you start burning layers into your esophagus. There you go. That's what it was.
esophagus.
Do that repeatedly, and you're going to start having a lot of problems. Have problems like breathing and just chewing food and having food digest properly because you're always throwing up, which is a lot of acid coming back up into the system. And not to mention that, you're going to start feeling weird cramps and weird pains. So you can start causing things like ulcers in your actual stomach. So that's even worse. So yeah, there's a lot of problems when it comes to throwing up constantly because of alcohol and getting super drunk.
Yeah, I think that's that. And for those people that never had a hangover in the past, trust me, you don't want to be there. Especially when you're in your 20s. When you were 18, I can handle like 2 days drinking, no problem. Today, honestly, one shot already, I really want to go to sleep.
You're feeling tipsy, you want to go to sleep.
But no,
Like
but my tolerance levels is super low now because I haven't been drinking. But anyways, once again, alcohol doesn't only have physical,
side effects.
There, I was looking for that. Thank you.
Too drunk, bro. Jesus.
No, I don't know. My vocabulary has been limited lately.
Your brain is just shutting off. You've just been drinking too much alcohol.
It's past my bedtime, bro. I'm dead ass. Yeah, anyways. So alcohol doesn't only have physical side effects. It also have mental and emotional side effects. I think that's where I was going. I think even just the fact where you're hangover, I feel like the next day, usually you just don't want to do anything. Once again, it's a depressant. So it's going to put you in the state. And the more control that you have over it, the better. And that's why drink consciously. Very important, my friend. Learn that the hard way. But anything to add up?
Cheers. No, just like going back to finishing that point, right? So like it's a depressant. So again, it'll bring the mood down, your overall state of mind, your state of consciousness, your ability to function. And the only way you feel back at baseline or get back to homeostasis is by drinking again, right? And then you're doing this constant effect where the next time you're going to feel even worse, and now you're going to have to drink more to compensate for that. And it just becomes this cycle until eventually you need to literally drink like 2 2-liter jugs of tequila or something just to feel functional. And then that's where you're pretty much on the brink of death because now your body's failing. Again, that's like super out there and probably not going to happen for a majority of people. But it's just to say like that is a possibility. So be mindful of alcohol. It's something that you can enjoy from time to time. And there's something that we didn't finish touching on, which is like the different types of drunks in terms of, the different alcohol types, right? So like wine drunk is different, or wine hangover, that was the point, is different than like, a tequila or like a beer. Like there's different, or it's seltzer, right? So like there's different ways you can actually have these hangovers and they affect the body differently. Again, I don't suggest you go out of your way to drink every weekend a different type of alcohol to see what the hangover is like. But suffice to say, it's all drugs or they're all poisons. You shouldn't drink to that level. You're going to feel like shit, and then you're not going to be able to function for a couple of days. And then,
I think everybody, like everybody, not like everybody, like everybody. I'm being funny now. But anyways, like everybody has a different type of body that's going to react differently according to the drink that you intake. For example, for me, Anything sweet is a big no for me, just because I know myself. My body next day is usually headaches. It's really bad. That's why I say either bourbon, whiskey for me, any day. You want to give me one, you already know what to buy me. Wine, I do love wine. Just one glass, that's enough for me to, in the day, usually dinner. Me and my dad, we have that in common. We love wine. But I got drunk once with wine, once in my whole life. I don't know if
And
you
that's
ever
it.
have you ever got drunk with wine?
No.
I know people who get drunk with wine all the time, and I'm just like, God damn.
Like I remember I've drank enough wine to get myself to a point where like I was starting to have a headache. I was just like, no, I'm not gonna keep
Yeah.
going there.
But yeah,
So
seltzer is the new thing nowadays. It doesn't have it's flavory. It's usually sweet. Tastes like seltzer, but the side effects are even worse. For me, drunk with seltzer is a medium no. You know, beer drunk though, I don't feel anything. I'm like 4x4 on beer and bourbon. What about you? What's
I
your
can't
cup of
I
tea?
can't do I can't do beer because beer bloats me up, and then I feel like my stomach is gonna explode, and then I also want to vomit. So it's like two in one there. I'm like, no.
Mm.
Usually I like the seltzers. They have a tendency to go down pretty smoothly, and I don't have any issues with them. And then usually the hard liquors. So I same way as you, I would stay away from the sugar. So with the sugary drinks, not only are you getting the issues from the alcohol, but you're also getting the problems from the sugars, right?
Mm.
Which one, for most people, that'll kind of just make them fat because you're just taking a lot of calories all at once and not doing anything. And they just keep drinking and then eating food on top of the high caloric drink. So anyway, that's why this is in the health section, right? Because now we talk about calories.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, that's true.
but then
Let's talk
like
about
all that sugar usually causes inflammation, right? And that inflammation makes you feel even worse. Like your body just feels sluggish. You don't have the mental clarity. You have a headache. You're hungover. You're dehydrated. So all of these things play a role in like the sugary alcohols, which makes me want to stay away from them. So usually I go with the clear alcohols, so things like tequila. I'll do some gin, vodka, right? That's kind of where my realm is. I definitely like my whiskeys as well. But usually hard liquors is where you want to go just because one, if you're trying to get tipsy or drunk, they get the job done significantly better and faster. And especially if you do it on an empty stomach, you will literally get there in one drink.
Yeah.
Or maybe two. It depends on the person, right? And then other than that, like once you get that acquired taste, it's kind of like drinking coffee. If you're a coffee drinker, you like the bitterness, you like the different notes. So, I like my hard alcohols and my seltzers. That's my thing.
Mm. So I'm surprised. Seltzer has a lot of sugar on it. Most of the
Which
seltzers,
ones?
like white clouds, the Coronas, most of
Not
them have a lot of
necessarily.
sugar.
I mean,
Because
it's like 2 grams of sugar, give or take. I mean, they might have a lot of additives that aren't healthy, but
right. Let's
again,
talk
that's where
about
they're only
calories.
like,
So let's talk about
okay.
calories now. Since this is that's the health section, let's touch bases on how much calories each of these have. Because I feel like for me, the sweet point, like the best of the best, is always gonna be a hard liquor, just because it's low
Yeah.
calories and gets you drunk faster. It
If
carbs
I'm
as
not
well.
mistaken, tequila and vodka are the lowest calorie drinks.
Yeah, that's it. Well, I'm not much of a tequila guy, but I mean, I drink it, when somebody invites me. Anyways, beer has the most calories, obviously,
Yes.
just because of the carbs. Seltzer, they might be in the middle point. Seltzer and wine, they might be kind of like,
Wine
I
has the
think,
most.
oh, really?
Yeah, it's a shit ton of sugar. Like you don't even taste it, but there's so much sugar in wine, it's ridiculous.
Mm,
It will not be surprising if you meet people that are like really into wine that might
right.
be a little bit more overweight than the other casual, or I mean, beer as well is going to definitely do that with
Beer is gonna
the
do
beer
that.
belly and all that. But yeah, a beer itself and then wine usually are the two ones that have the most calories.
Mm-hmm.
And then usually the hard liquors, like again, the clear ones usually have less. Then you have your whiskeys and your scotches that have a little bit more, but not
Oh,
really
yeah.
much. But like literally like I think 8 ounces of probably tequila, or probably less. Like a shot of tequila is probably like 60 calories or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So when you compare that to a beer, it's like 200.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I think just to wrap it up, definitely experiment what works for you. What works for us might not work for you, and it all comes down to experimenting. And especially if you're like in your young age where you can handle like a hangover, definitely is a social type of drug like that. A lot of people are gonna take it anyways. So just drink it,
Enjoy.
enjoy, and do it responsibly. That's all that we can
Drink
say.
water with every every cup of alcohol you have. Make sure you have your water. Make sure you're chewing your ice. That'll help out significantly. There's usually taking like B supplement complexes. So like B12 is usually a really popular one that you can just preload before you start drinking alcohol, so you can avoid the hangovers. And then afterwards, electrolytes to rehydrate. Make sure you're good to go. That's it.
And
That's all you have to do to
food before and
food.
after
Okay.
you drink. Before and after, always. Cool. Yeah, we can wrap it up there. That's it. Cheers. Stay healthy, guys. This is a conversation between friends.
None of what is said here should be taken as legal advice.
We are not experts in any way.
Take what resonates and leave the rest.